Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're back here. The first round of the NFL draft happened last night. We're going to go ahead and trying to get this out as quick as I can for you guys. We're going to go ahead and do a quick second round mock draft based on what happened, see what we can predict tonight. We'll also go ahead and talk a minute about the picks when we're on the team. So let's just jump right on into it. We're up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Made the obvious pick of Trevor Lawrence. Don't think you could have gone wrong there. That was a great pick. Now, here in the second round, the best players available, we got some guys that slipped, some great players still on the board. I'm going to go with who I had them taking in the first round of my mock drafts. Instead, they made one of the worst picks in the draft, in my opinion, in Travis Etienne. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and make the pick they should have made in the first round. We're going to get Trayvon Moehrig here for the Jaguars. I think he's the best safety on the board. Difference maker, go help that secondary out for Jacksonville. I think that'd be a great pick to start off the second round today. Now, the New York Jets coming up, they went ahead and got themselves Zach Wilson, and then later in the draft went ahead and traded up for Elijah Vera Tucker. It was interesting the fact that they wanted to give up capital to trade up. I get Elijah Vera Tucker is a stud, and I'm not saying it's an awful decision to trade up, but the Jets are in a spot where they need a lot of players, and I think they could have been better off using all their picks to get more players, but Elijah Vera Tucker is good nonetheless. Very good come out. Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, still a great first round for the Jets. Now here in the second round on the board, I definitely like corner for them. A guy like Asante Samuel is definitely an option. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah could. I like their linebackers a little bit more with C.J. Mosley. I don't know how they feel about Blake Cashman, but for me personally with this pick is between Barmore and Asante Samuel. I'm going to go Asante Samuel. I think corner's the bigger position. We saw a lot of corners go high in this first round of the NFL draft. You see teams are valuing corners. Asante Samuel's a great corner, great instincts. He's going to come in and just make that defense even better right off the start. I think that'd be a great pick for the Jets starting off day 2 yet again. Now we move to the Falcons. Went ahead and got themselves Kyle Pitts in the first round. That was a great pick. Kyle Pitts is one of the best players, if not the best position player in the NFL draft. They're coming up in the second round here. I definitely want to attack defense or O-line because they went ahead and got themselves Kyle Pitts to an already good offense. That offense is looking good. I'm going to go here with Azeez Ojulari, who I have as my number 2 edge rusher in the class. The reason he's falling, he has some knee concerns with some degenerative knee issues is what I've heard. But I don't know how serious they are. Went to Georgia, come right out, stay in the area, going to the Atlanta Falcons. They need an edge rusher. He's my number 2 edge rusher in the entire class over a lot of the guys that went in the first round. So I have him going right to the Falcons. That would be a great pick. Now moving on to the Miami Dolphins, who went ahead and got themselves Jalen Phillips and Jalen Waddle. I think they had one of the best drafts. I don't agree. The Jalen Waddle was interesting that they traded up for Jalen Waddle. They gave up basically a first next year for Jalen Waddle, which is questionable. But I love the Jalen Phillips pick. He was my number 1 edge rusher in the class. So that was a home run pick. Now they're back up on the board at pick 36. And I was thinking about O-line for them because they still need a tackle because I had them originally going Penei Sewell in one of my other mock drafts. And they ended up not going that route. So I'm going to go ahead and get them Tevin Jenkins, a guy I'm shocked that didn't go in the first round. He'll slide in right tackle day 1 for the Miami Dolphins. I'm really shocked that Tevin Jenkins didn't go first round. That was one of the biggest surprises. Him and JOK were probably the biggest surprises for me for guys that somehow slipped in the second round. And that would be a home run pick if the Dolphins can get Tevin Jenkins in the second round. Now moving on to my Philadelphia Eagles. They went ahead. I loved what they did, only giving up a third-round pick, jump New York, and go ahead and get Devontae Smith in the first round. I think that was a great move, one of the best receivers in the draft. Some people had him as number 1. I had him as my number 3 receiver, but nonetheless, a great player. Now they're back up on the board, and this would be my dream scenario. If the Eagles can walk out of day 2 with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, that would be the dream scenario. We're going to go ahead and snag JOK for the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 37. No idea why in the hell he's still here in the second round. I thought he was a top 20 player in this draft. The only thing I can think of is maybe teams are a little bit scared of where he's going to play in the NFL. But a lot of the comparisons I like to see with him is kind of like a Fred Warner who played a similar role in college as that kind of slot linebacker kind of guy. I think he could play a similar role. Eagles need someone who can cover. We saw what happened with Nate Gary trying to cover, and that was a disaster last year. So get the best coverage guy in the class, who some people have as their number one linebacker above Parsons and Jamin Davis and Zaven Collins, who all went in the first round. Now we're up on the Bengals at pick 38. They went and got themselves Jamar Chase, an interesting pick, but it ended up working out for them that the tackle run in the first round never really happened. O-linemen kind of started to fall, so they have their pick between Walker Little, Dylan Radins, and Samuel Cosme. Now for my money, I'm going Dylan Radins here. I think he can plug in at either tackle day one, get some production. Walker Little definitely has a high upside. Guy, like, you can see PFF ranked 26 for them. They're really high on him. And then Cosme's another guy who some people are really high on, but had some interesting games where he didn't look as great. But that's why I'm going Dylan Radins. Showed out at the Senior Bowl too. I think he'd be a great pick, and it really worked out for the Bengals that the O-linemen are all here for them in the second round. Now the Panthers, an interesting pick in the first round, went with J.C. Horn. They didn't run a lot of press man last year, which is what J.C. Horn's forte is, but they might not have just liked their personnel for it. So, and I assume they're going to play more if they went ahead and drafted him 8th overall. He's a great player. I think that was a good pick. He's one of those rare skill sets that you don't find in a lot of drafts. So that was a good pick for them. Now moving up into the second round, we've kind of seen the types what they like, those hard-nosed players. One player I was thinking of, Nick Bolton, could definitely be an option here. O-lineman, they could definitely look into O-lineman, and I think I'm going to have them going O-lineman. It's just what O-lineman they go with is really the real question, or if they want to keep shoring up this defense, if they believe in their offense with Sam Darnold. But I think you need to protect Sam Darnold. And for my money, I'm getting Jackson Carman. He can slide in right tackle day one, and I think Jackson Carman can be a great guard too. He's a big guy. I think he can slide in guard day one, slide out to right tackle in a year or two if you need to. He's one of the more versatile guys left on the board. I actually would really like that pick for the Panthers. Carman's one of those guys that I really like. Now, pick 40, the Broncos. They end up going Patrick Surtain, a little bit of a surprise, but still a good pick, I believe. They're going to go ahead and get themselves here, I think, another Bama player, shore up this defensive line. They're going to get Christian Barmore, another guy I'm shocked didn't go in the first round. Had some character concerns, but I don't know how too worried I would be about those. Now, teams might view that differently, but that's a stud that you can slide in as 3-tech and play him day one, Christian Barmore, in that Broncos defense, and that would be a home run pick if they can come away with Surtain and Barmore, two of the just hard-nosed, they're going to be good Bama players coming into the draft. Now moving on to the Detroit Lions at pick 41. Went and got this as Penei Sewell in the first round. I think one of the great picks of the first round. He fell right to him, and they went ahead and took him. That was a great pick. Now moving on to the second round, pick 41. I have them going Nick Bolton here. I think he's another, bro. He's one of the just best instinctual, hard-nosed. He's going to go downhill, make the tackles. He's a bit smaller arms, not the biggest guy for a linebacker, but he will make all the plays you need. He's got that attitude as a linebacker that you need to be successful too. Seems like he would fit in well with that Detroit kind of, just the Detroit locker room that they're trying to build down there. And I think that would be a home run pick. I think he's one of the best early day two guys that you can get in the draft. Now moving on, pick 42, the Giants, who got leapfrogged by the Eagles in the first round, got Devontae Smith taken from them. They go with Kadarius Toney after trading back with the Chicago Bears, who jumped up to get themselves their quarterback. Now, they're not going to go wide receiver. I was thinking O-line. They could definitely use some interior, like a center. Landon Dickerson would be a definitely interesting pick. Edge rusher is another pick. It's really between those for me. And I think if I'm the New York Giants here, you got to help protect Daniel Jones. And I'm going to go with, they're going to get the best center in the draft class. I'm going to go with Landon Dickerson here for the New York Giants. I think he's the best center in this draft. He's going to come out and I mean, once he gets over this injury, I don't know how long it's still going to keep him out. But before that injury, he was the best center guaranteed. Go ahead and get him in the second round. Shore up that offensive line after getting a weapon for Daniel Jones. And that's going to be looking good for the New York Giants for that future. Now, the San Francisco 49ers are back up on the clock at pick 43 after trading up and getting Trey Lance, which I believe was the right move in the first round. I'm glad they didn't see Daniel Jones. I'm so excited to see Trey Lance in this 49ers offense. I think it could be something really special. But they're on the board with pick 43. I really like going secondary for them. They really have some holes in the secondary. So if we're looking at cornerbacks still available, one of the guys I really like, he could play safety or corner. That's why I like him for the Niners. Bit of flexibility while you can play Javon Holland, MJD's best defensive player in this draft class. A little bit questionable there. But anyways, nonetheless, a great player. Opted out this last year, so didn't have as much tape. But he could play that slot corner or that safety role. Hell, he might even be able to play outside corner. But he's just going to be a weapon that they can use to help shore up that secondary in San Francisco. And that would be a steal of a pick at 43. Now the Cowboys, back up on pick 44. They traded back with the Eagles and got Micah Parsons in the first round. I mean, that was just a solid pick. He's one of those blue chip players in this class you know is going to be a great player. Some character concerns, but therefore he fits right in with Dallas. So they're here in the second round, and I think lineman is definitely a possibility. Secondary, now they missed out secondary, and I think you have to go secondary here if you're the Dallas Cowboys. You missed out with Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn going right before you in the first round. That's why they made the trade with the Eagles. Now they're going to have to get secondary. I'm going to have them going Kelvin Joseph, cornerback out of Kentucky. He's one of those, some people are really high on him, some people are really low on him, jumping up some boards, falling down some other boards. He's a very interesting prospect. He is a build that can play outside corner for the Cowboys, and he's one of those players that I would definitely take a risk on if I'm the Cowboys at pick 44. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are back up on the clock at pick 45. Went and got themselves Trevor Lawrence and Trayvon Moehrig already, and they got themselves Travis Etienne, which we already know how I feel about that Travis Etienne pick. Now, looking at the board, there's still some players here. If you want to go edge, Carlos Basham would be an interesting guy, kind of like a Calais Campbell for them that could play inside or outside. O-line, definitely you got a guy like Walker Little, definitely could shore up that O-line. And you have a guy like Elijah Moore, a complete weapon. And I'm going to go with Elijah Moore. I think you need to just keep providing weapons for Trevor Lawrence there. They got his running back from Etienne. Get yourself a bona fide receiver in Elijah Moore, one of the best route runners in this draft. I'm a little shocked he didn't go in the first round. He's got great crisp route running. He's fast. People think he might be able to play the slot. I think he can play outside personally, but even if you play him in the slot, he's going to be a great slot receiver. Now, the Patriots back up on 46 after getting Mac Jones. I thought that was a great pick. To be able to just sit there for the Patriots and have Mac Jones fall right into your lap was an incredible scenario for the Patriots. Now, they're going to go here back up on the board, and I definitely think they need to attack receiver. Their receivers are weak, and realistically, if we're looking at the receivers, for my money, it's between Terence Marshall and Rondale Moore to the playmakers left. Now, Terence Marshall has some injury concerns, and Rondale Moore is pretty small, so they definitely have some knocks. That's why they're here in the second round. I'm going to go Rondale Moore for my money, though. I think he's just a complete playmaker. His testing was insane, his vert and broad. He's just an explosive guy. I loved what he did at Purdue. Now, he might not get the same looks Purdue. He had a lot of offense made for him. He was really the guy at Purdue. We'll see how he does in more of a pro NFL offense, but I'd rather take the risk on him than a guy like Terence Marshall at this point if I'm the Patriots. Now, the Chargers back up on the board. They had one of the best picks in the first round. I mean, Rashawn Slater was just staring them in the face. That's an incredible pick. You definitely can't go wrong with a Rashawn Slater in the first round for the Chargers. But back here, I thought for a second when I was doing this, it's not an awful idea to just go back-to-back O-line and get themselves another stud. But what I have them doing, Melvin Ingram is out the door. They got Joey Bosa and no one else. They need a guy to pair across from Joey Bosa. And for my money, I'm going Ronnie Perkins. I think he's a high upside guy. Some people really love him as one of the top edge rushers. A lot of people thought he could sneak into the first round. He doesn't, but he's going to go top of day 2 to the Chargers. Get yourself another edge rusher. Pair across from Joey Bosa to keep that pass rush going in Los Angeles. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders are back up on the board. One of the interesting picks with Alex Leatherwood. I didn't even have him in my first round in either of my mock drafts I did before the draft, and it was definitely an interesting pick. I know PFF put out something about, on their mock draft simulator, like 1,700 people had Alex Leatherwood going to the Raiders, but only 100 or so of them had them going in the first round. So a lot of people viewed him as maybe a second round guy. They got him because of his versatility. I told you in my mock draft, I said they love those winners from like the big Bama, Ohio State, Clemson programs. They went for another Bama player. Not too shocking, but They're back up in the second round. They definitely need secondary. They definitely need a receiver. They could attack O-line and they could attack corner. They could really go anywhere. Looking at how the board's falling out, linebacker they could attack linebacker again, a guy like Jabril Cox. They attacked linebacker heavy in free agency. Not a lot of them worked out. But for my money, I don't go back at it if I'm them. I think they need some receiver help, though. If you really want Derek Carr to be good, you're going to need to help provide some weapons for him. So I'm going to go Terence Marshall. The slide stops for Terence Marshall here as he goes at pick 48. Tall and fast guy. He's unpolished. He's going to need some work, but his athleticism is insane. He's going to be a great fit in there for the Raiders. Help get Derek Carr. Hopefully you think he can be something. Let's see what he can do with another receiver like that. Pair him up with Henry Ruggs in Las Vegas. Now, the Cardinals, another interesting pick in the first round, went Zaven Collins. He's a great player. It seems like he's going to be playing what Hassan Reddick was playing last year, that Sam kind of outside linebacker kind of role. That's, I think, where he fits best because I think he's 270 pounds. He's a huge dude. Still runs in the 4.4s, I believe. Insane athlete. Interesting that they go kind of hybrid linebackers for the first round 2 years in a row. But I guess that's what they wanted to do. Now, I had them going secondary in my mock draft. I had them going Caleb Farley, I believe, last in the first round originally. So that's definitely another position that they could attack. Safety would definitely be, or O-line, any of those. Personally, for my money, if I'm looking at how the board's falling out, the guy like Walker Little's still here. I think you can't pass on that. Get yourself another bona fide tackle. Walker Little's one of the best players on the board. Sometimes you just have to take O-lineman when they're there. It's one of the most valuable positions. Go ahead and get yourself an O-lineman. You already made a weird pick in the first round. Make a safe, good pick in the second. Now the Dolphins back up on the board after all their 25 picks they've already have. Got themselves Tevin Jenkins in the second round already. Now secondary is another one. They attacked offense and now they've attacked defense. They've attacked both sides. You go definitely defense. The safety board is an interesting one here with not a lot of guys going so far. And with Tevin Jenkins going the first, I'm going to have them going Richie Grant. I think he's one of the guys that can play that deep safety and be very successful in the league. The other guy could slide down to corner if you need him to in that slot corner role. I think he's one of the weapons. Great football IQ. He goes at pick 50. That's a great pick for the Miami Dolphins. Now, pick 51. The Washington football team went and got themselves Jamin Davis, an interesting pick. He's an athletic freak. Who knows what he's going to turn into? But I don't think that was a bad pick at all. They definitely could use a receiver here to pair across from Terry McLaurin. They've shored up the front seven. It's really between receiver or O-line. They could definitely use some O-linemen. And honestly, with Samuel Cosmi staring me in the face, I'm taking Samuel Cosmi here. O-line is definitely a need for them, and Samuel Cosmi could have been a first-rounder, so he's staring you in the face. You take him there if you're Washington. Now the Chicago Bears back up on the clock after trading up for Justin Fields, one of the best picks in my mind in the first draft. Justin Fields was falling. I don't know why. I know some people are concerned a little bit with some of his mechanics, but still, to fall to pick 11 and for them to go up and grab him, that was a great move on the Bears' part. But now they're back up here on pick 52. They definitely need a corner to replace Kyle Fuller leaving. Aaron Robinson could be that. Don't know how much I like him at this point, though. They could use another receiver. Diami Brown's an interesting guy there, still on the board. Edge rusher, Carlos Basham could be interesting. You could put him inside or outside. Another interesting guy. Personally, what I'm going to do for the Chicago Bears is I'm going to go Diami Brown. Go ahead and get Mitchell Trubisky's old teammate, Diami Brown. I don't know if they actually played together. They probably didn't. But anyway, we're going to get the North Carolina receiver, Speedster. Get him out there, pair him across from Allen Robinson. Because Allen Robinson, we don't even know if he's going to be there next year. He's on a franchise tag. Maybe Justin Fields will come in and make him want to stay. But if you're rolling with Andy Dalton this year, which it sounds like, you're going to need some weapons out there. So go ahead and get yourself Diami Brown. A lot of people are really high on him, so get him at 52 right there. Now the Tennessee Titans on the board with pick 53. The Tennessee Titans went ahead and got Caleb Farley, one of the biggest risks in the draft. They did it with Jeffrey Simmons 2 years ago. So we've seen them take the risk on injured players. And hey, it's working out with Jeffrey Simmons. Caleb Farley's an absolute stud if he can stay healthy. So I was perfectly fine with that pick for them. They definitely need to replace the great old Isaiah Wilson now Rapper. They need to replace him because that didn't work out last year. And definitely corner is still a need. Even with Cale Farley, they lost almost everything at corner. So that's another place they could go. But I'm personally going to try and fill that tackle role that they wanted. I'm going to get Leon Eichenberg, another high floor kind of guy. We know what he is. He's not going to be probably an all-pro guy, but he's going to be a solid starter and come in day one and produce for the Tennessee Titans. Now the Colts up on the board. I thought the Colts had a great pick with Kwity Paye. I loved that pick in the first round. High upside. They have a great coaching staff there in Indianapolis. So I think he's in good hands there and a great defense. Now, picking at number 54, I had them going O-lineman in my mock draft, so that's definitely another place they could look. They don't have a tackle, but unfortunately for them, the tackle run is kind of gone in the second round. So you're looking at Brady Christensen's really the only other guy I would take in the second round here. Maybe a Jalen Mayfield could be an interesting pick for them. I'm going to go Jalen Mayfield. PFS a bit lower on them. Some people are really high on him, though. He could slide into guard or right tackle. Play whatever you need. They really want a left tackle, but I think Jalen Mayfield is one of those O-linemen. You need some help on that O-lineman. And go ahead and get yourself Jalen Mayfield, another guy who had some scouts have him really high. A lot of mock drafts had him in the first round. So pick 55, Steelers, one of the worst picks in my opinion in the first round. Got themselves Najee Harris. You don't need a running back. You need O-line. So I'm going to go ahead and do what they should have done in the first round of this draft. I'm going to go ahead and get Quinn Miners. Can play center or guard, either one. Coming out of a D3 school, had an incredible Senior Bowl. I mean, he's just a stud. You need Steelers. You fix the run game through the O-line, not a running back. They might be the worst team in the NFC North now, and I don't think that's a hot take. They just keep messing up these drafts. They're so weird with them. Please just make a good decision and get an offensive lineman, Pittsburgh. Please, for the sake of all your fans, do the right thing. Now the Seahawks up on the board, their first round pick, they went ahead and got themselves Jamal Adams. They didn't actually draft Jamal Adams, but that's where their first round pick went. This is their first pick in the draft. They definitely have a lot of holes that they need to fill. Edge rusher, definitely one of those holes that they could fill. Interior D-line, Ali McNeil would definitely be an interesting prospect here for them. Corner is definitely a need. They lost some corners. They lost Shaquille Griffin to free agency, which I think is really going to hurt them. Looking at the corners that are still available, some people are really high on Tyson Campbell. I could see him going here. He had an awful three cone. That change of direction just doesn't seem to be there, which definitely worries me. So I'm going to go with, honestly, a bit of a safer prospect. I'm going to go Aaron Robinson. People call him T-Rex Robinson because he's got really short arms. But he'll get up. He's one of the best press guys, which is interesting because he got short arms. But he'll get up in your face, and he's pressing you right away. I love his attitude at corner, and I think he could still be a great player. And the Seahawks have a great defense that can help him be as successful as possible. Now the Los Angeles Rams, kind of like the Seahawks, picked Jalen Ramsey with their first-round pick. So they're up on the board for the first time at pick 57 here. Another team that could go a lot of places. I like Jabril Cox here. I really like that fit that they could have. Jamar Johnson would be interesting. Go ahead and replace John Johnson with another guy. Jamar Johnson's just a ball hawk. He'll fly around the field. He's just one of the most productive safeties we saw in college football over the last 2 years. It's insane his production that he had in playing that, especially in that too high defense. I assume they're going to play similar defense. They're going to have a new defensive coordinator. I don't really know what scheme they're running, but it's really between these two for me. And for my money, I'm going Jamar Johnson. Replace John Johnson, who left in free agency. Get yourself the ball hawk of the draft class in Jamar Johnson. That's an incredible pick. Now the Kansas City Chiefs on the board with pick 58 after trading back with Baltimore for Orlando Brown. This is the pick they got back in that trade. So they didn't make a pick in the first round. We could say they picked Orlando Brown in the first round. Now they're another team, lots of needs. I'm going to go with the best coverage linebacker maybe not the best coverage linebacker. That's definitely JOK, but one of the better coverage linebackers in the draft class, Jabril Cox from LSU. They need a linebacker there. Go ahead and get Jabril Cox, throw him in day one, and he's going to help that defense that needs a lot of help. Now, the Cleveland Browns are on the pick. At pick 49, the Cleveland Browns got themselves Greg Newsome. Interesting pick. He's a great player. Interesting. I don't know how they feel about Greedy Williams after this pick, but he's definitely one of the best players that his value in that first round, that was great value where they got him. So you can't be mad with that pick. And personally, for my money, I think they just want to help shore up that defensive line anymore. I'm gonna go Lee McNeil, one of the best run defenders in the draft class. He can play that nose for you, and he's gonna help stuff the run. And that D line is scary with Clowney and Garrett on the outside. Then you put a guy like Lee McNeil to help stop the run and just be a big body in the middle. I think that's a great pick for the Cleveland Browns. Now the New Orleans Saints are up at pick 60 after an interesting pick with Peyton Turner in the first round. Another high athleticism, high upside kind of dude, not as much production at a lower level in Houston. But he comes in and he's definitely an interesting pick. I think I saw some comparisons actually with him and like Cam Jordan. So interesting that he goes to the Saints. It's weird that they traded all that for Davenport, still have Cam Jordan, and go after a guy like Peyton Turner. But nonetheless, I'm not the GM of the Saints for a reason. They know what they're doing over there. I'm not going to question it. Moving on to the board here, I liked Carlos Basham originally, but they're definitely not going to go that direction. It's honestly I think I'm going to go Pat Freiermuth. I honestly, be honest with you, I don't know what happened with Jared Cook. He might still be there. But anyways, you can upgrade that tight end position. They don't have someone that's good enough. Pat Freiermuth is definitely on a tier of his own as that second tight end in this class. It went Kyle Pitts in his own tier, then about 5 tiers past. Then it's Freiermuth in his own tier. Then about 2 more tiers past. And then you got some of the other guys like Hunter Long, Tommy Tremble, and Brevin Jordan, some of those guys. But he's a playmaker. He's a good run blocker, all-around kind of guy. Not that crazy athletic, but just a solid tight end coming for the Saints. Now the Buffalo Bills took Gregory Rousseau. Much to my dismay, I'm not a Gregory Rousseau fan, but if they can use him right, we'll see what they can do. I'm not a huge fan of that pick, but if they play him on the interior, which they should, he might be good. So we'll see what they do with that pick. It'll definitely be something we have to keep our eye on. A lot of people might want a running back here. Personally, I'm not a fan of getting a running back if I'm the Bills. I think you've put on a lot. Put 2 third-round picks 2 years in a row into running back. Go ahead and get yourself probably a corner here would be the best pick for them. Some of the guys I really like, Efedi Melifonwu would probably be the most interesting choice here. Or unless they I'm going to go Efedi Melifonwu. Tall, long guy, could play outside corner for the Buffalo Bills. And very interesting skill set that could bring in. Pair him across from Cherry White. I think that's going to be a good pick for the Bills when it's all said and done. I had them going corner in the first round anyway in a couple of my mocks. So they definitely still need to attack that corner. Now moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Will they have Aaron Rodgers? Will they not? Who knows? They went ahead and got themselves Eric Stokes because we love Aaron Rodgers. So we're going to go ahead and get him a cornerback. Now, moving on to the second round, will they actually help Aaron Rodgers? That's really the question, and we don't know that answer. If we really look at what would you help him with most, not a quarterback. A quarterback definitely wouldn't help him. A receiver, I need to get rid of this quarterback tag, but a receiver would definitely help them. I don't really see, I guess Tylan Wallace is kind of their type of receiver. Unless you want to Cade Johnson is definitely way too rich for him. I don't see any of these receivers sneaking into the second. I love Amari Rodgers. I think he'd be a great fit there, but you can probably get him in the third or fourth. I don't think there's no receivers here that I would personally reach for this high. But on the Green Bay Packers, there just isn't. Looking at linebackers, that's one of the positions I liked for them. The linebackers are a bit weak. I'm going to go with this. A lot of people are really high on Pete Werner. I don't see what some people say. Some people thought you could sneak in the first round. They need a linebacker. I'm going to go and sneak Pete Werner in here to the Green Bay Packers. Now moving on, pick 63. The Chiefs back up on the board after getting themselves Jabril Cox just a second ago. They could get themselves Honey Badger V2 and Ardarius Washington. That would be an interesting pick. I think edge rusher, or I think O-lineman, they could still shore up that interior O-lineman. I think they're a team that I could see falling in love with Creed Humphrey. So I'm going to go ahead and get him. One of the most sure centers in this class. Leonard Dickerson's kind of that big center that you're going to run in your power schemes. Get downhill, he'll maul people. Creed Humphrey's more of your smaller center, kind of like a Jason Kelsey. He commands the offense. He's great in zone schemes. I think they would love him in Kansas City and what he does, and that would be a great pick. Now, pick 64, the Buccaneers coming in. They had an interesting pick in the first round with Joe Tryon. Guy who didn't play this last year, didn't have much production, but he's a freak athlete, kind of that outside linebacker, edge rusher role. You can never have enough edge rushers, and they're a team that doesn't have a lot of holes, so I think it was a great pick. I'm going to have them getting another steal of the draft. I'm going to have them get Javonte Williams ending out the second round here. PFF's number 1 running back in the class, I know. Going to get him in the second round, pair him back there with playoff Lenny. I think that's a great backfield, even with Ronald Jones still there. I think that would definitely be a great draft. Let's see. We got Jackson Carman at D. Look, I love PFF hating on my picks. But really, I think this was an interesting second round. I'm going to go ahead and get this video out for you guys. I'll see you guys probably after the second, third round. After the draft's over, we'll go ahead and go over all the picks. But this is what I think is going to happen in the second round or later today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.